right, we're all set. Excellent.
Okay.
Nice to
Good
meet
morning.
you. Good morning.
Nice to meet you, Joe.
Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into your latest album, No More Excuses, I want to know, we're going on the 4-year anniversary of this pandemic we went through, and it really hit the artist community in a very particular way. How did you get through that time period, and how did it subsequently change you?
You know what? I have listened to some of your interviews,
Okay.
and you've asked this question, so I was prepared to
Good.
share something with you.
Good.
Yeah, my world shut down completely, like everybody else's. A lot of my work is in the environment where they are most at risk. I work a lot in retirement communities. I take our music into a world that's been exposed to some really incredible music in their lives. But anyway, my world was shut down, but I'm a seamstress, and I knew there was a desperate need for masks, for caregivers, for people. So I started making masks, and it kept me so busy because then people said, well, would you make one for us, start a business, blah, 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 blah. So that kept me connected to people, and I found ways to be entertaining by I came up with these. I got tired of not seeing people's smiles, so
Oh, good.
Excellent. I came
Very
up with
nice.
this, and then I came up with this.
Very nice.
So anyway, I had fun staying connected that way and hearing about people's stories, how they made people laugh with their lips or whatever. As far as the music went, I just pretty much I just waited to see what was coming. I mean, I could sing around the house anytime I wanted to. I did not do the Venmo video thing. I didn't do that. I just waited to find out when we'd get back in the communities. I did have to sing for a while wearing a mask. That is not fun. I found myself almost fainting because you're just not taking a deep enough breath. It was, but I looked around and I just saw so many people that were struggling and depressed. And I found what I was able to do during that time period. Really, I'd get manic. I'd get in there and sew for hours and hours, just the way I would have to focus back when I was writing. I had to sit there in front of that piano for hours and hours because I'm not an accomplished pianist. I searched hard for those notes. But anyway, that's how it affected me. And it was such a joy to get back out working and to be able to see people's faces again and smiles. That was, but my situation was a little bit different, I think, because I did find something fun to do to keep me connected.
So was this album an outgrowth of that time period, No More Excuses?
Oh gosh. You know what? This album really is, it's what I call a miracle. This album happening. I ran into a musician that I'd worked with back in the mid-70s. He invited me to come do some backup on an album that he thought could possibly be his last, because he'd been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and given 3 months to live. But he was surviving. He found a different protocol to help heal. Anyway, as I'm leaving the session that day, he said, Danette, do you have an album? And I said, no, I don't. And he's not the first that's asked. And it's been like 5 decades in the business, and I've never recorded an album. And he looked at me and he said, you are going to have a CD. He said, I love producing, and you're going to have a CD. And I just felt that day, I thought, I don't know if I can say no to this man. The weirdest thing, the next day, my brother and I had property that we had inherited. And after being on the market for like 15 years or more, the next day we closed on that property. And I looked at my brother and I said, you know what? All these years when people have asked, when are you going to do a CD? My comeback was always, whenever we sell some land. And so the day after I ran into Duke and he said, you're doing a CD, the next day that happened. And I looked at my brother, I said, I have no more excuses. So that's where the title of the song came from. Just,
Wow.
I can't use that excuse anymore. So then I started sending Duke, his name was Duke Davis. He's still alive, flourishing, recording like 4 other projects. He's come back incredibly. And he's given me an experience I really had given up on. I wrote the songs like 15 years ago. A lot of these songs were written, and I went back to college to study composition, arranging, and all that. And the songs were written back during that time. And it was kind of, I put them away. And it just, he brought things back to life as far as I like that one. And so it was to get that feedback from someone else that was excited and visualized, we're going to do this with that. Then I'm going, okay, let's do this. But that's how that had nothing to do with the COVID. It had to do with someone surviving cancer. Yeah. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, just all these years. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been in this business a long time. And so for me to have this opportunity to get songs out into the world that I really didn't expect this to happen. So it's been awesome.
So how did a girl from Cleveland, Texas get fascinated with singing and jazz and spend decades in the business? How did this happen?
You know what? I started out playing clarinet and singing since I was 7 or 8. And, doing, one of my big hits was Fever. I just loved Peggy Lee. And then I went to college and, I did a summer and musical theater and everything. But I just mixed in with the pop and everything. There were just certain songs that had that different kind of feel to them. And it was a different way to express myself. And I moved out to Vegas. And the funniest thing is, I wish I had known then what I learned quite a few years later. The very first trio that I worked with at the Tropicana, this is back in the 70s. My bass player was Monk Montgomery. And I had no idea. I had no idea his history, just his career with his brother and everything. He was just the coolest guy back then. He's just, we'd sit down in the cafeteria on the breaks and visit. He's just a nice guy. And then there were periods of time I alternated sets with Joe Williams. And I'm just this naive little girl from Cleveland, Texas going, I wish I could go back and sit there and listen to how he chromatically from the bottom of his range, it was like, wow. Even what little I knew then, I'm going, I don't think too many people can do that. Yeah. But so it came, I was influenced by different people throughout the years, more so probably in the 80s. A guitarist, Josh Breyer, said, Danette, I'm going to turn you on to some stuff. And that was when the Sarah and the Carmen and the Billie Holiday kind of entered my life. I'd already fallen in love with Nancy Wilson, but he said, you need to be doing some of these songs. And so I would say probably in the 80s is when I was really introduced to that world. Yeah. And just the freedom, the musicians, it's kind of like, you know what, the stuff you hear on the radio, people want to hear it a certain way. And I always had a problem doing covers because I didn't want to do them exactly like the Carpenters did or like this I wanted a little bit of freedom in it. Yeah. And that's the beauty in jazz, is you never have to do it the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the beauty.
I mean, the musician would be pulling their hair if you did the same every night. Take a hike, woman.
That's right. Yeah. Let me ask you this. What was the first live performance, whether jazz or otherwise, that you saw that blew you away, that made you think, I want to be on that stage one day? That's what I want to do.
Oh, God. You know something? one of the I'm not going to talk about Ricky Nelson because that really doesn't count. That was just a crush.
Yeah.
But I can remember as a young girl, my parents took me to see Judy Garland.
Wow.
And they had been a couple of nights prior to that. And they came home and told me how wonderful she was. And I said, I want to go. I want to go. And unfortunately, she was running really far behind. And now we understand why she was late. And my parents said it wasn't the same show because she had issues. And so, but she was worth the wait. It was worth the wait. I don't care. I mean, I was just this little girl, just fascinated. But Judy Garland was the first like big, big star that I
Yeah.
saw,
Yeah.
and I love, you know what I love? I'm not just going to stand up there and sing. I like to mess with the audience. I just, I love the showbiz part of this,
Yeah.
not just the music. I mean, the music is awesome, but I want to find another way to connect with the audience. And I think there's some musicians, some singers especially, that are better at that than others. But that was my very first. I'm trying to think who I saw after that.
One of the
Brenda
best.
Lee. I saw Brenda Lee.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
She sat down on the floor in this massive gown. I mean, she's tiny, and the skirt just spread. All I could think of was that's getting dirty. But anyway, I'm going, I wouldn't do that. She was, oh my gosh. Yeah, she was awesome. She was
Well, when you
wonderful.
talk about singers and showbiz, there is a real difference because there are people that command the stage and crowd in a way that's pure entertainment. There's artistry, but there's also entertainment. I saw Marilyn May live probably,
Oh gosh, I
yeah,
love her.
like, oh yeah, like 6 years ago. My, so I started this show because I heard a show called The Neon Beat. And one of my best friends of all time, he's the engineer of my show. His name's John Christopher. The first song he ever played on his show was a Marilyn May tune. And he loves her. And he always tells me the story that when she would get on Carson, Carson would leap up out of his chair and be like, that's the way you do it. He always tells me that story. He
Yes.
just loved Marilyn. And but Marilyn is like kind of becoming she's getting reincarnated in New York, and all of these people love her now. Well, she came
Yeah.
to Kansas City and did a show, and I took my engineer to see her, and they got to meet afterwards, and we got to meet her. But the whole thing on stage was a pageantry, a Vegas show. There was all of this, piano playing in between, and she would talk and make people laugh. There was a showbiz gloss that you just don't see anymore. A bedside manner that's leaving.
Oh, you know what? I I love Marilyn May. I
Yeah.
mean, and she came out. I worked a room where she had worked in Houston, and she came out one night with her pianist, and I was so honored. But she was one of those people, which I can't do this, but if people started talking in the audience, she'd just stop. She'd just stop, and I thought, of course, she can command that kind of respect and say, "Hey, you paid a lot of money to get in here. Can you talk later?"
Yeah.
And that's I said, "Oh, I can't." But she was just on fire. She
Yeah.
was on fire, and there was a warmth. There was this charisma, but she was commanding. I mean, her instrument and just the audience, but she was a class act, and I am so thrilled that she is still out there
Oh
doing
yeah.
it and being appreciated. That tells
Absolutely.
me I got a few more years here to
Yeah.
go.
Well, speaking of that level of longevity, you've been at this for decades. What is it that you like the best about being a professional singer or musician? What is it that gets you up every day? What has propelled you throughout all of these years?
I think one of the things is being on stage, and this is weird, being on stage and looking over at one of the musicians, and they've got a smile on their face, and they're looking at you, and they're going, that, I mean, I mean, for a singer, I mean, guys jamming and doing all that, they're so used to each other. Oh, you know, we got this. But I think for a singer, sometimes we feel a little bit like an outsider. We're invading their space with lyrics. You know, they're busy doing their instrumental, and we're coming in with our, you know, our words. That people love words. They love the lyrics too. I know that. But when you look over and you see somebody go, yeah, or somebody starts giving you something on the bass or the guitar, and then you start, that that is that keeps you going. It does. And the thing for me now, especially, I work in an environment, you know, I am blessed to work with people that went out and listen to people now in the clubs, and that we revere. These people, some of the people, they hung out with the nightclubs with the Tony Bennett's and all these different Sinatras. But a lot of these people now, their memories are fading. There's Alzheimer's. There, you know, different levels of aging. And so for me, when I see people singing along with me, when I look out and see someone's mouth moving or their feet tapping, and I know I'm reaching a place down in their soul where there's a memory, there's something that resonates deeper in their spirit. But you know, that feeds me in a way that it's just very, very special that I get to convey the songs that have been around for years. I mean, I'll do old, and then I'll do Uptown Funk from Bruno.
Yeah,
And
right.
just it the music that I get to sing is so much fun. And I do throw in some of my original songs, and I tell the stories, how they happen. I'll tell them the stories behind some of the songs, you know, just so it's uh just it's you know, it's all about feedback. I know
Yeah.
feedback is a horrible word when you get on stage and you're having to deal with the sound system, but feedback from your audience and your musicians, when you get it, when you get the full circle of everybody coming together, it's magic. It
Yeah.
really is. It's magic.
So before we depart this miracle album that you've made, and after all of these decades, what are you at the end of the day hoping the listener gets from this experience?
Oh my gosh, you know, I just hope they have fun.
Yeah.
I hope they have fun, and I hope that if there's hurt, if there's something that in their lives has hurt, that there's some lyrics here that help them move on. You know, find something. I mean, the very first song I wrote is a tribute to the woman that gave me life, and it was part of my healing process to say thank you.
Yeah.
Forget any feelings of rejection or blah blah blah. Just thank you. I'm here. And the others, just life goes on. Get over it. Just, but I just hope, if anything, if they know my story, that they realize, you know, it's never too late.
Yeah.
It is. It's never too late.
Yeah.
You know, it's just because I didn't write my first song until I was 51.
Yeah.
So, and then I went to school about 5 or 6 years later and studied, because I don't play piano. I mean, it's like a reconnaissance mission when I sit down at the piano. I have these chords, these notes in my head, and it takes me a long time to find them.
Yeah.
But and it's got to, when I find it, don't mess with it, you know. So don't you guys be changed. So I just hope they have fun with it. I hope if they journey through the CD, I would like for them to say, "Oh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice little caveat over here. Where'd that one come from?"
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
hope it's fun. I hope
Yeah.
it's fun. That's what
Well,
I hope.
well, to put this into relativity here, I'm 51. I just turned 51, so I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, wow, the first time was, yeah, because I feel like I'm pretty far into this ride right now. So it's never too late, you know. There's
Uh,
always the possibility. So at the end of the day, you've spent years performing, and now you have music out that people can purchase. you have family and friends and all these people around you that see you in a different light and see you in a certain light, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? I feel like I'm a beginner. I feel like I'm starting all over again. That's what I feel like. I feel like I've been given uh, an opportunity to stretch out beyond what I accepted. That I'm given an opportunity to look at new avenues for getting my music out there, getting back into writing more, because I kind of put it off to the side. It's just I just see myself as someone that's definitely not ready to throw in a towel at
Yeah.
all. I'm ready to take one and wave it and say, come on, let's go. So how do I see myself? I see myself in so many different ways. I see myself as a mom, a grandmother, but this is the core. This is too big a part of me
Yeah.
to I guess I see myself right now as very curious. That's how I see myself, is what's next.
So
That's
you've obviously had a rendezvous with the dreams that you've had. You have an
Oh, yeah.
album out, you've been at this for a while, but let's say you had a dream tonight and you ran into the 20-year-old version of you and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained over all these years. What advice would you impart on your young version?
Oh my goodness. Oh, just to say there are going to be some major distractions in your life. There are going to be people that come and go and circumstances that you have no control over. But never stop listening to your heart. Never stop, never stop hearing the 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 voices inside of you that were there from the time you were born, that said you're supposed to sing.
Yeah.
You're still supposed to sing. It's too big a part. I mean, I was a 5-year-old. I can visualize that little turntable on the floor, me sitting there and listening to Pat Boone. I know that's dark ages here. Listen to these people and crushing on Pat Boone and the Everly Brothers and Brenda Lee. These Hold on to that.
Yeah.
The distractions, life's distractions, we got to have them, but it's not too late. So I don't know. I think I'm rambling. I don't know
No,
if
you're
I
no,
answered.
no, no,
Did
no.
I
I love
answer
it.
the question?
Yeah,
Did I
you
answer
did.
the question somewhere in there?
You did. You answered it and you did more. It was wonderful. So I want to get to the good business here of where's the best place for people to pick up No More Excuses and to see you live. Any live shows, anything that's coming up. The warm months are on the horizon. What's going on?
Well, right now they can go to my website, DanetteMcMahon.com, to purchase an album. I'm in the process of getting connected to Spotify. I wasn't going to do that. And then I look, I know it's painful what happens, as far as
Yeah.
what it does to the artist. But I was looking at the charts and I'm looking at the people around me and everybody's on Spotify because I'm curious, what do they sound like? And I go, okay. So I've given into that, but it's taking forever to get the process, completed. I'm not a real technical person. So it's evolving.
Yeah.
So Spotify eventually will be a resource, Amazon and all the streaming. I will be performing at a, a restaurant here in town, Italian place, and then I've got with a wonderful pianist Bob Henshin, and then I do private clubs. Right now, I am not out in the public that much. I have to reprogram.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Cool.
in a season of reprogramming.
I like it.
And there's a lot of stuff that I've kind of put on hold. And now I'm saying, ooh, and finding the musicians that I want to work with and the venues, man, when that all comes together, it's kind of like, it's just, I'm excited about the adventure ahead.
Yeah.
And if nothing else were to happen at all, this has been incredible.
Yeah.
This has been the most, because it was not supposed to happen. I'm not one of those musicians that's put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CDs. Oh, it's just another CD. Oh no, this one really wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
And you know, the funny thing is, you can shut me up when you want to.
Oh no, you're good.
There's one song on the CD that is really one of the darker songs that's getting more recognition on the radio stations. And when I saw the play, they sent me the radio report, and I'm going, oh my gosh, because I can remember when we're in the studio, the opening chord, I asked Joe Locascio, who was also my professor at school, the pianist, I said, no, I said, I need something darker. Give me something dark. And he laid this chord down. It's like, oh my God. I said, okay, that's it.
There you go.
And then at the end, the same thing. He laid out some chords, and I'm going, I need darker. And that's a song. It's called Don't Pretend. And it's related to a marriage ending, a divorce. Yeah. And I said, well, you know what? That's interesting, because we got to have the sad songs.
Yeah.
Like, I Can't Make You Love Me. Oh my gosh, I love that song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's just funny. You don't know what song is going to touch someone.
Sure.
There's just no way. So
yeah.
I hope I think there's a diverse selection.
Sure.
On the it's not straight ahead swing, and it's I bounce. That's kind of my personality.
Yeah.
And so I just hope if someone starts listening, they go, oh, I think I'll skip that one. I hope somewhere along the way they go, oh, I'm going to go back and hear that one again.
Yeah.
You know.
No, this is great. Yeah, no, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for the story. Thank you for talking about the album and your life and music. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Joe. I deeply appreciate this. You take care.
Yeah, absolutely, you too.